everybody. This is David Fitz again with the Let's Talk Weekly podcast. Today, my guest is Amanda-Rae Prescott, and we are talking to you all about Doctor Who Season 9. Hey, Amanda, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, awesome. This past Saturday was the season finale of Doctor Who, which was it Hellbent was the episode, I believe, and
yep.
I was want to kind of start like overall thoughts, like the season overall. What was like your take of things?
I believe that this season series 9 was a very strong series. There was very few moments where I felt that the writing or the plots were mediocre or even bad. There were some moments in the first two-parter, the Magician's Apprentice two-parter, where I'm kind of like, where is this going? But other than that, I think it's a very, very strong season overall. And I like the fact that these episodes were two-parters where they could really delve into a concept, develop it completely, then finish it. I also like the fact that there was only one arc that carried through the entire season, as opposed to just a bunch of different things going on at the same time, at least with the exception of the shoulder plots. Everything else can kind of stand on its own as its own separate adventure, which makes it feel very much like classic Who, where they would develop strong two-parters and multiple-part stories where things would happen and then they'd come to a conclusion, and then there were only a couple seasons where they would have large arcs tying everything together. In terms of Clara's development, though, I feel like there were parts that were very strong for her, but I feel like there were a lot of parts where I could see that they were in a way struggling to develop her character, because I think the initial plan was for Jenna Coleman to leave earlier than Series 9. So I think some of the episodes were probably written in a way where they could put anybody in that position, but then Clara ended up staying for the most of the season. But overall, I really liked Series 9. I really like how Peter Capaldi transformed the role into something uniquely his own. And there were so many moments in the season where I'm like, give this man an Emmy if Doctor Who's eligible. Because I think that's kind of the main question now. It's like, could they actually? I think this season they could totally run with an Emmy campaign if they wanted to.
I agree. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think was it that Clara is the longest serving companion he's had so far since Rose, or she's longer than Rose, I think.
I believe so, but the only thing that confuses me is that for me, Amy and Rory's tenure felt kind of just as long, but I'm not sure how they count Amy and Rory together. I mean, I've seen that in multiple places. I guess we'll run with that, because I think she probably might be the longest serving companion since Rose. I don't know. With Space, though, it feels like Amy and Rory have been there for a while, but I guess not, because Clara did 2.5 seasons, opposed to just 2. So yeah,
that's true, because Clara came on
midway through Series 7,
right? So that's like 2.5 seasons. So, okay.
Yeah.
And I was looking on Wikipedia, so that they have the Christmas episode from last year, last Christmas, as like part of this season. So I'm like, I thought that was last season, but okay. But
yeah, I always get the word of Christmas specials or other things like. I'm like, I feel like I watched, since you watch them all at the same time, you're just like, oh wow. Right,
because I think I saw on Netflix that Last Christmas is already up there with this past season. So I was like, well, I thought that was Series 8, but okay. So let's kind of go through each episode. It's like, I know you said earlier before we started recording that you said you didn't get to see the prequels, or did you?
No, I didn't. Because I think they only showed them at the movie theater screenings with Last Christmas.
Okay.
I believe, at least in America. I'm sure somebody got a leak of it somewhere, but I usually don't go chasing down that kind of thing. So yeah, I didn't go to those screenings, so wasn't able to see it.
Gotcha. Because and if I find the links, I'll send them to you. That I think they had it on the Doctor Who website, and
yeah,
and I think the first prologue was, it kind of all ties in with the Magician's Apprentice. But the first one was just called Prologue, and it was the Doctor talking to the leader of the Sisterhood of Calm, and
he's talking about Gila. Okay, that makes sense.
Right. And then there was a second one called The Doctor's Meditation, when he was with the medieval time. He was in the medieval times, and he built the well for the town and a visitor center. Mm-hmm. And then you had what was the guy's name? His name was Boris, who we saw in the first episode, Magician's Apprentice, when the Doctor was taken. The Dalek eye came out of his forehead, so I was sort of sitting like, wow, the man from the prequel was a Dalek. That's funny.
Yeah.
But but let's kind of go through like the Magician's Apprentice, and if you want to go through both episodes, that one and The Witch's Familiar together, because I know like both of those, they did go back to or reference classic Who in terms of the Tom Baker episodes, the Genesis of the Daleks, and I finally got to see that a few weeks ago online, and I see how it's connected. But I'll be honest, the episode made me think that the Doctor and Davros had a conversation about, if you're presented with a chance to get rid of the child, it would become evil, would you do it? I thought it was them talking, but it really was the Doctor talking to his companions, like Sarah Jane. I forgot the other man. His name Hunter, I believe. So, Harry
Sullivan.
Harry, thank you. Yes. But what are your thoughts?
Magician's Apprentice and Witch's Familiar kind of felt convoluted at parts because they were trying to mash together Davros and Sisterhood of Karn and that sort of classic theme with Missy's chaos, which to me at some points it feels like, where is this going? Yeah, we see Skaro, and we see the Dalek, we see the Doctor's moral crisis with, if I take out Davros, I can solve the whole at the same time. That's way too much alternate history, and I don't feel good about that. But adding Missy to that equation, to me, was, while it was good to set up, hey, Missy's coming back, you guys are, that was good for the fans, but I think it made parts of this a little bit more convoluted than it should have been. I would say, to me, in terms of least favorite episodes this season, it's literally these two that for me that those are my least favorites this season.
Gotcha. Yeah, now thinking back to it, they were a little confusing because I was first thinking okay, so how the episode starts out seeing the kid Davros, oh, okay, so. And I should have known better than to think that when Davros apparently died with the 10 Doctors episodes, I was like, yeah, he's gone, but I should have known better because it's Doctor Who.
Yeah, Skaro and they just like to use those every couple of years. They'll show up and bring chaos over Doctor Who and then leave again. And yeah, I think we were pretty much overdue for a mention of Davros and New Who, so because they kind of skirted around it in earlier seasons. But yeah, now I felt like it was time because I know the Dalek episodes, sometimes they just get repetitive because it's like, okay, we killed the Daleks last time, and then, oh wait, they're back. But at least Davros is a little bit of a new angle on the whole thing.
Right. And now I'm here thinking about it. I think I see how you said that the overall story arc, how they all kind of blended together. Like, there was that talk about the Dalek Time Lord hybrid, and they brought it up at the end. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of curious to see if that was going to come up in the season finale, but I'm kind of happy it didn't, in a sense.
Yeah, they kind of avoided the issue. I think it would have, the hybrid being to separate entities that together could cause so much chaos. I think if it was a Dalek at a time where I think it would be a little bit too weird and far fetched. But a human with the Doctor's influence plus the Doctor is probably not the best idea either. So I think that's why they went that route instead of the Dalek Time Lord hybrid, because that sounds really crazy. Like, I don't know how they would even explain that.
Right. And I wonder if, would you say that the Dr. Donna thing, was that considered a human hybrid thing as well?
Technically, yes, but I think the situation behind Dr. Donna was basically because of the influence of TARDIS. I think that makes it, in a way, I'm glad they referenced that situation at the end of the series finale, but I think they also dodged a bullet in completely mimicking it, because it turns out now that it's the Doctor that kind of forgets Clara, not the other way around. Also, yeah, the Dr. Donna is interesting echo back to earlier New Who, but I don't think, but because that situation was directly like Donna sucking up the energy of the TARDIS is what caused that in the first place.
Right.
Yeah.
And kind of seeing like the show as at large of how classic Who and newer Who or current Who, how everything is referencing each other, or how they're doing a good job of referencing older things. I think it's overall doing a good job, and it will make some newer fans want to go back and see like what are they actually talking about, because that's what it did for me when in terms of Genesis of the Daleks. I was like, well, I know I need to see this because I know I'm missing some pieces.
Yeah, that's my sort of motivation too, when I go back to Classic Who, because there's so much of it going on, but I figure I'll start where I see blatant references, and then from there explore other episodes. So it's been good too, because I think a lot of New Who fans who start with only New Who, they get intimidated with like, whoa, there's so many seasons, there's 26 seasons of stuff, where do I start? I'm like, well, start with where you could clearly start with the episodes that are clearly referencing like stuff in New Who, and it'll make you understand what's going on faster.
Right. If I remember the first episode in 2005, like they bring up the Autons, and I didn't know much anything in Doctor Who when I finally was able to go back and see it from that point forward, and then I saw like older episodes, and it was the anniversary year, and they were showing classic episodes like, for each month of the year.
Yeah.
They showed one episode with Autons. I was like, okay, I get it. Classic villains always show up throughout the series. It's a good thing, and it makes people start learning from the past.
Yeah. When I started New Who, which was in 2007, I did not initially go back right away to watch Classic. It took me a little bit to get to start watching the Classic episodes, but I liked the 50th anniversary because they forced me to be like, hey, look at all these good Classic episodes you've been missing.
Right, because if I'm not mistaken, 2007, what was going on in the storyline then?
Okay, I started in September 2007, so that was in between seasons, actually, because Martha's run just ended, and it was before Donna shows. Back then, this was pre-BBC America airing Doctor Who. Doctor Who was on the Sci-Fi Channel, and they were usually a very long time behind the BBC. Donna appears on the Sci-Fi Channel on April 2008. Because I wasn't quite internet savvy at that point, I was basically just watching from Rose up to the end of Martha, and then waiting for season 4 to start with Donna and all that stuff. So that's kind of where I jumped in. So a lot of what fandom was talking about at that point was mostly like, oh, I hope we get a better companion in Martha, or Martha was okay, or Martha was awesome, or Martha wasn't so great. Like, that's kind of where the conversation was for most of late 2007, early 2008. Mm-hmm. It's weird how much stuff in the fandom has changed since then, because Doctor Who in America was nowhere near as visible as it is right now. Like, you had to rely on like people online to really help you get copies of the episodes, and it was a lot of this is before this is before Twitter. This was before Tumblr. So it was basically a lot of conversation happened on LiveJournal. Okay. So because I was already on LiveJournal for a couple of years, I found the Doctor Who communities, and that's how I started catching up, and you were swapping torrents and all that fun stuff and discussing episodes. And that's kind of, it's weird how much has changed in such a short period of time.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think I came in at, I forgot you to the Sci-Fi Channel. I was like, yeah, that's right. Doctor Who was on Sci-Fi. And I think I got in at the end of Donna's run when all the companions came back. And I watched that last bit in 2008. Mm-hmm. And I remember seeing them saying, it'll be back next year on Sci-Fi. And I was all right. And they never came back. And then that's when I saw commercials for BBC America. And I was like, well, I want to keep watching. And so in that time, I think I kind of went over to BBC, and I just remember seeing random episodes here and there. So I didn't really know where to follow it. I just knew it was here. It's the Doctor. And then I'm trying to remember, when was David Tennant's last 4 episodes, the specials? Was that 2009?
That's 2009.
2009. Okay, so
that's 2009. The four specials. Yeah, that's kind of. Do you see the contract move over? That's one, because BBC America in the earlier years only had re-airing rights. They didn't have full US exclusivity and premiere exclusivity at that point. So that's one. Once that contract with Sci-Fi / NBC Universal ended, that's precisely when that switchover happened. And I think part of the reason why Doctor Who took off in the United States is because of that switchover. Because I don't believe Sci-Fi Channel was marketing it the way it should have been. No, it definitely wasn't. I mean, it was not. It wasn't being promoted the way it should have been, and I think that move definitely helped it. Definitely helped Doctor Who take off, because it was being handled by people who, because they're connected to actual BBC, was definitely better handling of the PR, and PR marketing was. That's how it took off in the United States.
That's true, because after that it was just it's where it is now. It's just the fandom was taking off and people were more into it, and I've been live tweeting this. I was live tweeting this past season, and there were a few weeks where if I knew it was going to be a 2-parter, I just decided to wait to the next week to watch both episodes back to back. Mm-hmm. But and also kind of tying back into what we were saying, how this season referenced older things. I'm looking at the episode listing, they brought back the Shadow Proclamation all for a few minutes. Mm-hmm. I thought that was a nice nod. I mean, I don't know how long the Shadow Proclamation's been around. I just know it from Tennant era, but
I have no idea about how long it's been around either. I don't know if it's been referenced in Classic Who or something similar appeared.
Right. And because even last season, from last season to now, Unit's taking more of a presence than it had been in a few years. And even with last year's when the reveal of Missy and who Misty was or is, and the thing about the Cybermen getting the bodies from the grave, and the one that saved him at the end was the General Stewart.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a nice little, okay, we acknowledge a lot of classic things there.
Also, that was right after the actor who played the Brigadier back in the day passed away. So I think it was a great way to honor him by making his daughter the new head of unit, and also too, it was just a way to tie Classic Who together. I think it was really. I like that they've continued to have an occasional unit presence.
Right, that's true, and I like the fact that the Doctor finally gave him a salute, since he would never do it.
Yeah. So
that was a nice thing. But did you have any more thoughts you wanted to say about the first 2 episodes?
No, I'm good. I was gonna move on to Under the Lake and Before the Flood, which actually were my favorite episodes this season. This two-parter to me was one of the strongest episodes this season. I feel like on the first watch, you kind of don't notice it because it's just basically a completely standalone. It's a completely standalone two-parter. You don't really notice all the details because it's kind of like it's a strange military-esque world. They're underwater. It starts off that, but then there's little things in there you notice are like, oh wow, this is actually a really interesting concept.
Right.
My favorite Cass is like my favorite side character this entire season because she was played by a deaf actress and her disability became an ability because she was able to lip read what the ghosts would say, and she was able to help Clara and the doctor figure things out. And I loved seeing a great example of obvious diversity, but played in a way where it was just what it was. It wasn't like, hey, look at this, we're gonna do something really diverse. It's just happened naturally.
Right.
And the Before the Flood, I actually saw it there was a screening at New York Comic Con because it was that weekend. Toby Whithouse actually did some commentary about the episode right after we saw it, and it was really. Actually, he did it before the episode, but it was really interesting to see his thought process behind the idea and how he's like, well, the Doctor hasn't done ghosts in a while. Let's mess with that idea and see what happens. And I just liked what he said about people who are creatives in the industry should make more of an effort to include diverse populations in their casting and in what they write. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's Under the Lake and Before the Flood are definitely like my favorite episodes for the season. And it's funny, I also cosplay, so I bought the dress Clara wore from that episode just on like this looks cute, and then I didn't realize until I saw it air. I was like, yeah, I have my favorite episode outfit. Woo.
Nice. I'm looking like. Because I'm thinking like that two-parter, like I'm trying to remember because I know I haven't watched it since it aired, but but yeah, you're right about the way they handled diversity in the episode, and it wasn't just like here's a new thing, like it fit in very nicely, and and I like the fact that like when the Doctor uses the psychic paper, how they instantly knew who he was. And it's like, yeah, you're from UNIT. And it's like one of the characters was familiar with him. I don't remember her name. Was it O'Donnell, I think? I don't remember the character name.
Yeah, it was O'Donnell.
Yeah, because like she was like a pure fan. And I was like, that was nice to see. And instead of him like always showing up and somebody's like, all right, well, you're so-and-so from whatever I think I see on your paper. And it's like, no, I know who you are. Mm. And because I think I had to rewatch both of those, and I think those were two of the stronger episodes from the season. So I think because now you said you saw you saw Before the Flood at New York Comic Con?
Yeah, BBC America said, hey, we're going to show it a whole hour and a half before it airs on TV. So that's why that was like the last panel on Saturday in one of the large rooms, which was a lot of fun.
Okay.
That's also, too, it was a great experience. It's like seeing the conclusion to something with 2,000 other friends of yours. That was a lot of fun.
How was the audience reaction to that? To how they just seeing it beforehand and also like just kind of seeing it together, like the communal experience?
It was very, very exciting. A lot of people, you could tell, like, the fans were like, this is such a good episode, because part of it continued the whole Doctor, the guitar thing, and then just seeing how the story tied up. Although it has somewhat of a bittersweet ending, just seeing the fan reaction was very, very positive. So it was, and of course, a lot of it's helped. Is like we all seeing this. It's the communal experience definitely helped that, and the episode, and in hearing, we got to hear what Toby Whithouse had to say before the episode aired. So that was even, because I don't think he's done a lot of U.S. appearances at cons, so it was very exciting to see him in person. Because he's done quite a few Doctor Who episodes before. He's also done Being Human and some other things I'm forgetting right now. But yeah, a lot of people like him. So it was overall very positive experience, very positive fan reaction overall.
Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the guitar thing. So, what do you think of the whole paradox of those 2 episodes?
I have the bootstrap paradox. Sorry, I'm jogging my memory.
Right, I'm trying to remember. Was that the Beethoven thing?
Yeah, I think it was a good example of Doctor Who referencing either historical or scientific controversy, or I don't want to say conspiracy or theory, because there's been several episodes where the writers will take advantage of a known dispute or controversy or conspiracy or theory in history or science to advance the plot. And I think the Beethoven's Fifth was a good example of that. Mm-hmm. And also it was played to somewhat humorous effect as well. So for New Who, I think for this season, I think it's best. I think it's the best example of a sort of using that, because they've done that in the past before. Like, for example, the Daleks built the Empire State Building. That episode was really bad, but good example of a possible historical conspiracy theory. Or what really happened to Shakespeare's Love's Weavers 1? It disappeared. Oh well. Thanks to some witches, it's gone now. So yeah, I like those episodes when they reference stuff from either history or science and turn it into a running joke.
I forgot about that Empire State Building one. I forgot.
Yeah, actually, that episode, there's a lot of, I can rant for another 6 hours about how bad that episode is, but that was sort of the premise of it. Like, the Daleks completely messed up the building, the Empire State Building, and good thing the Doctor was there to save it.
That was Classic Who, if I'm not mistaken.
That was It was Martha. It was Martha.
Oh, Martha. Oh, I don't know. Oh wait, I was thinking about one of the older episodes when they did that. The thing where they're going to make it seem as though they're in America, but they're not. But I remember what you're talking about now.
They did that a lot in Classic Who because the budget was like all of £2. They're like, let's fake things we can't really actually film in.
That's right. That was the Daleks in Manhattan episode, right?
Yes, 2-parter. Yeah, that was a 2-parter.
Okay.
There's a lot of issues with that 2-parter, but yeah, in terms of exploiting conspiracy theories, that was a good example of that.
Right. And one more note to make before we move on about Before the Flood. Mm-hmm. Who was the one that I guess planted the power cell by the dam? I think I missed that.
Who planted it?
Because like it's like when it goes off, and like, so the flood came and flooded the town, but it was supposed to happen. So did the Doctor just wipe out the town, or did the other guy do it? I couldn't quite figure that out.
I think it was. I think the Fisher King did that, and then that's what I don't think the Doctor purposely did it. I think it was just a consequence of the way the Fisher King set up a trap. If I recall correctly.
Okay, so yeah, it was the Fisher King. That's because I think that confused me. But,
yeah, I kind of need to rewatch that myself because I don't think I noticed that myself the first time around.
Okay. Yeah, okay. That's how this whole season needs to be rewatched. I was surprised they didn't do that Saturday showing the entire season straight through. But
yeah, I'm shocked they didn't do it either. But I think the part of the issue this season was that because Doctor Who started 3 weeks later than it usually does, I think they ran out of airtime to run the season over.
That makes sense.
Yeah, because they were working, because again, they had to wrap it up before Christmas, so that would cut down their airtime.
Gotcha. Okay, so the next story arc we had was the girl who died and the girl who lived, and that introduced Ashilda, or also known as Me. Mm-hmm. So what was your take on those 2 episodes?
The Girl Who Died and the Woman Who Lived. I liked both of them, and in I like to analyze the history of like the historical episodes. I like the way they tied 2 different time periods together by using Me or Shilder's life, because the Vikings and 1650s London really have nothing to do with each other, but you could tell the research that went into like imitating the time period in a way that makes sense for the story. Obviously Vikings are popular right now in pop culture. That whole medieval-esque look is pretty popular, but I liked how that concept was adapted for Doctor Who, because I feel like sometimes they don't always adapt time periods that well sometimes, but I liked how they adapted the Vikings for Girl Who Died and for The Woman Who Lived. They didn't really mention a lot about Cavalier era England, but I don't expect a lot of Americans to really understand that. But at least you kind of got to see that Ashildr is living. She's a teenager, essentially stuck. She's stuck in a teenager's body, but saw so much history and so much of her life change because of the Doctor's direct intervention. Right. And for some part of it was good and part of it's bad because she's living a million lives and then she forgets every time she fakes her death. It's kind of sad if you think about it.
It is.
I think these two episodes are. I think for her, if you analyze them for just her story, they're pretty strong. But if you start looking at some of the other characters, you can kind of get the sense that they're basically there to serve. They're basically plot devices to serve her story and not really anything else. But I think both of these episodes are pretty. I like the way they work together. So I think this is a pretty. I wouldn't show this episode to people who I wouldn't show this as an episode to try to get somebody interested in Doctor Who, but it could work for somebody. The only thing I cannot really tell about Maisie Williams is this. I don't watch Game of Thrones, so I cannot tell how much of her previous character she kind of borrowed to make in terms of the interpretation for me and Ashildr. Mm-hmm. I have no idea. That part I cannot really answer.
Right. Yeah, I don't watch Game of Thrones either. So this was like my introduction to her.
Yeah, same here. Because, yeah, I just can't get into it. That's just me.
Because also this season, like they explored the reason of why this face was chosen for the Doctor, and I did like that. And what was your take on that reveal of like why he chose this particular face?
I liked it because there's so much conspiracy about how are they going to tie Fires Pompeii together with Capaldi or Who, and I think this is a great way to answer that question because there's been so many times in Doctor Who when a character they reuse an actor from a previous thing and then don't explain how all of a sudden there's something else. At least because obviously Clara began as Oswin, and there was an explanation for that. But then there have been other times where, I mean, Amy technically first appeared as a sibling sister, and nobody ever explained why a sibling sister is now Amy, but that's just what it was. At least with Fires Pompeii, there was a great way to tie the past of Doctor Who with the present, so it kind of ended that mystery because there was a lot of kind of like how is that gonna work?
Right, because I think they did it for like in the past where an actor was used and then that person became a doctor. I don't remember which doctor that was. Maybe 6, I think.
Yeah, possibly.
So it's like, okay, so they've done it before, but this was a good explanation, and because I even like how they set that up with his first episode. Not the name of the episode is blanking on me. It's Deep something, I forgot.
Deep Breath is his first episode.
Right. And he talking about is like, I chose this face for a reason, but I don't know why yet.
Yeah.
So that was a nice, setup device or plot device.
Yeah, I'm glad also that took place in an episode that wasn't a season. The explanation it was in the episode's mid-season as opposed to a finale or a premiere, because that would be really contrite. I like how they kind of stuck it mid-season and you just kind of like, oh wow, that's cool. Mm-hmm. because it would have been very easy for them to turn this into a premiere or a finale episode.
That's true, because it could have been like a one-off, and it's like, well, we're done and we cover it up. Whereas there's that sense of mystery, and we're just gonna just leave it and come back to it when you least expect it.
Exactly.
So, the next episodes we had were the Zygon invasion and the Zygon inversion, and this was an interesting pair to call back to several things, not just the 50th anniversary, but just like past classic Who events. So, what did you think?
I have not seen any of the classic Zygon episodes. They look really cheesy when you go back. I've seen pictures of them online. I'm like, wow, that looks really, really cheap the way you guys made them. That's pretty much the only opinion I have on classic Zygon episodes. In terms of these two, if you want to, part one by itself does not really work in terms of analyzing it. You have to watch these two together back to back, because so much of in Zygon Invasion is setting up the plot twists and setting up what the struggle is in the end. These two are definitely the strongest of the season when considered together. Either one of these by themselves, I think, falls apart somewhat. You need two of them. The two have to work together. In terms of the give Peter Capaldi an Emmy case, I definitely believe the monologue toward the end of Zygon Inversion is definitely one of those showcase examples, because obviously, although New Who has somehow kind of strayed from the Doctor not being a weapon or using weapons to solve problems, sort of character setup, the inversion reminds us that he's not always going to. At least as a principle, he tends to stray against violence unless absolutely necessary. And this was a great example. That monologue was a great example of reminding people of that, because I feel like sometimes in New Who, we have seen a Doctor use weapons or use himself as a weapon. And it was helpful too. I like how this two-parter, I think people probably forgot that the peace treaty actually happened. Because I think so much stuff was going on in the 50th, you kind of forgot that happened. So forced you to rewatch the 50th, because I'm sure a lot of people I know were focused on like only one or two elements of 50th and then forgot that the Zygons were involved in 50th.
Right.
So it also was good to see Kate Stewart again, good to see Osgood again. Especially when the last time we saw Osgood, Missy shot her, so good thing we saw her like alive and well. Yes,
and then the question is like, which one died? And it's like, well, that was all part of the problem. Well, this set this up.
I also liked evil Clara a lot. I mean, Bonnie. It was kind of funny to see the dark side of a possible dark side to Clara.
Oh, I agree too, and that shows this for Jenna Coleman's acting skills. Like, that shows that she can do more than just what we see here, and like I want to see more of what she's going to do now that she's moved on to other projects.
I'm personally excited for her new project of the Queen Victoria bio. It looks like a biopic of some kind, or at least based on history. I'm pretty excited for it. Not only because it's history, but I think it's produced by the company brought the new Poldark. So I'm really excited to see what they do, because they've done such a great job of Poldark. I'm glad that they're gonna do some more historicals for the BBC. So I'm pretty excited about that. And also excited to see Jenna expand her repertoire too.
Yes, because I think some people do get kind of typecast. It's like, well, we know you from this one thing, just like Daniel Radcliffe, and he's worked to prove that I'm more than just Harry Potter.
Yeah, I think nowadays the companions are less likely to be typecast now than in the past. Same thing with the Doctors so far, with the exception actually right now it's not even except I mean even Chris Eccleston has done other stuff besides Doctor Who. I mean they've all moved, they've all kind of in their own way successfully have taken on other projects besides Doctor Who, because I know in the past once you did Doctor Who, like that's all you could do for the rest of your career. It's just kind of unfortunate. But nowadays I feel like there's more roles for them to do to branch out and explore other things.
Right. So, next one we had was the only standalone episode from this season, which was Sleep No More. Like, I really like this one because it made me think of like, like those found footage type movies and things like Paranormal Activity or Blair Witch Project, and I really like the way that this was done. Like the person telling the story, and I actually appreciated them not including the show opening on this episode. Like it seemed to fit better without having to cut to here's your Doctor Who opening and we know what it is, and then cut back to it where it was this is just straight footage, and you are, I guess as they were telling the audience watching the tape, like, yeah, you're watching this tape, and if you have to leave now and don't look at it. But the way it was, the payoff at the end was nice.
I think I was noticing online a lot of the fan reaction was overwhelmingly negative, and I'm not sure if it's because of the found footage aspect, because I feel like that's become a trope in itself.
True.
Or is it that they didn't like the way the episode is set up, or they didn't like the body horror aspect of it? I'm not sure. Or it could be a combination of all three. I'm not sure, because usually people like Mark Gatiss written episodes for Doctor Who, because he's a very good standalone writer. I'm shocked that this one didn't. I noticed online the reaction was really, really negative, and it fell flat, which is kind of weird. Because when I saw this episode, I saw it at a screening where Gatiss appeared after the fact to explain what happened, to explain his thought process, and I liked how many potential political message of this, that like anything could be that's. Because we work so much in society, that our sleep is something, even though we own it now, maybe it may not be that way in the future. I think that sort of gave a lot of food for thought from a political angle. I'm not into horror, so for me, found footage is something I don't get exposed to often. But I believe people who probably do watch a lot of media with found footage, I think that's probably why they're like, no, not this again. Which probably led to a lot of the negative comments online for Sleep No More.
Right.
To me, I like this episode a lot. I would put it on my favorites list.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely one of my favorites for the season. So that's sort of how I feel about Sleep No More.
Yeah, same here, because I'm not really into the horror genre. I mean, I don't think. Like on occasion, I may watch something like The Shining, and that's not really horror, but that's like my limit. And now that I really think about it, this episode kind of harkens back to like the first Doctor's episodes in terms of let's get back to the TARDIS and leave. And this is really what he was trying to do, especially toward the end. He was like, "Oh, we gotta get out of here now." And I think a lot of the season was the Doctor being like the first Doctor in terms, like, especially the previous episode with the speech, and I forgot to say this, like, it kind of felt like the first Doctor for like a tad bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm surprised about the negative feedback for Sleep No More. Like, I guess I didn't bother to look, but since you said that about the found footage genre as a whole, I think it is becoming that, not just again for some people. So, but it's give or take. I think it depends on the person.
Yeah, I think it heavily depends on like what other stuff people are watching. So I think people who are consistently watching horror or paranormal stuff, they're probably growing tired of it. But for people who are not, I think there are probably other elements of the episode that are just like, what is this? In terms of the society that they set up, I thought was a very interesting thing. Politically right now, I don't see it, but farther into the future, seeing a civilization that is India and India and Japan combined, which I think is probably interesting concept. I don't see it happening now in the near future, but seeing a society that was so much rooted in Eastern traditions was a very interesting concept. And in sci-fi, we don't always, when it's done, it's usually done with a kind of like, oh, let's do this because it's cool. Right. I think Gatiss' motive was a little bit more political and also social commentary, because the social commentary on our current society.
Right.
Because if you think about it, like if you think about like Japanese Indian society today, it's sort of, there are elements of that society that could clearly lead to this situations happening in terms of their social economics and stuff. Yes. But I don't think too many people picked up on that. They're probably just like, I don't think people will notice that.
I didn't think about that, but now that I'm listening to what you're saying, like that does make sense. And in terms of, like, I guess, and I know I don't know much about Japanese culture. I'm trying to learn, and
same here.
I think one thing I've seen, like, I don't know if it's like a meme, so I didn't even know how true it was, about if you're sleeping at your desk, then that means you're doing a good job. And it's like, but we need our sleep.
Yeah, I would need to do more digging into this, but Japanese work ethic culture is very it's even more intense than America is worse at some points. So I think that's definitely, and also the fact that Japan tends to be so much further ahead than Western society in terms of technology development. That's probably what Gatiss is drawing from in his dystopian vision.
That's true. And you took notes during this conversation?
I took notes for what Gatiss said. Let me flip through it, because I was going to write an article and I ran out of time. Like, right before, because I saw it the Monday before it aired the Saturday. But I ran out of time that week to write an article about it. But I took notes about what he said, and he definitely mentioned a lot about the colonization of sleep and the body horror aspect of it. He also let's see what else he said. He also said personally in his life, he's personally interested in getting sleep and how sleep affects him. He probably doesn't get a lot of it. He also mentioned that it was an idea he had in his head for a while, but I think part of the thing is they had to wait for it to fit in somewhere.
I see.
And also, obviously, they wanted the rights to Mr. Sandman because it wouldn't, that whole joke would not have worked otherwise. But I think they were waiting. I think so many of the previous seasons were tied up in huge story arcs that an episode like this would not have worked in previous seasons.
That's true.
Yeah. So he also talked a lot about how. He also talked a lot about how political the seasons become. Like, for example, Invasion and Inversion is basically ISIS for 7-year-olds, if you think about it, partially. He didn't talk much about spoilers, but he did also, let's see what else he mentioned. He mentioned this is one of rare occasions where the Doctor actually lost. He couldn't completely solve the puzzle, which I thought was a very interesting concept, because usually we're so used to seeing the Doctor succeed that it's weird to see him fail. But at least in this instance, it was a very isolated instance. So it's not like a failure. It's so huge that the rest of the universe is affected. It's just this one little part of the galaxy.
That's true. He did fail because they ended up running, like the Dr. Claire and the. It wasn't that many survivors left, if I remember. It was just
exactly.
It's like they all ran.
It's very rare when you see people when you see the Doctor losing a situation.
That's true. And do you think that you could see the creatures that were created for this episode? Do you think that we'll see them again in future seasons?
It's possible. I just don't see. It is very possible we could see them in a future episode, but I just think it would have to be. It would have to be very. It would have to be in a universe similar to this one, or set up where this is that's the direction that society has gone in. I can also see it being I could see it being, since ghosts were brought up this season, I could see another situation where they think it's ghosts, but it turns out to be beast creatures.
Okay.
But it had to be a very specific case for them to build that up, and I don't think it would. It would have to be Gatiss writing an episode. I don't think anybody else can pull that off because of the way he constructed the universe. It'd have to be him doing this. But again, I don't think if they were going to bring back if they were going to bring back a creature, they would probably bring back something that isn't so tied to one specific scenario.
Right. Okay. Got you. And next, we had, I guess you say these last 3 episodes went hand in hand together.
Yeah, I definitely believe that Face the Raven sort of stand on its own, but I think it's better to look at all 3 of them together because so much of it feeds off each other.
Yes.
Heaven Sent could also stand by itself, but I think it doesn't. It also, so much of it also feeds off the other 2 episodes that it's better to consider them like a group. Mm-hmm. The last technical 3-parter finale we had in Doctor Who was series 3, which it's been a long time since we've seen a 3-parter finale, so it's been quite a while.
What was that, Martha?
That was the end of Martha. It was technically 3 parts.
Okay, that's right, it was. Okay, so we had Face the Raven, and that Rigsby. Oh no, I'm saying his name. Rigsby from the episode Flatline from last season, and I'll be honest, it took me a second to remember him because he just showed up out of nowhere. And I was like, wait, I know I recognize him, but I couldn't remember where. And
when I saw Face the Raven first time, actually, I knew who he was because as a cosplayer, we figured out what Clara's wearing this episode fairly early on. We just didn't understand what was going on with it. We saw her, we saw the Doctor, we saw Rigsby, but we didn't know what in London randomly. Like they were filming in London like a couple months ago, and we're just like, this is a cool outfit, but why is he back? Like, what? So it forced me to watch Flatline again to remember how the Doctor and Clara even met him. And I was like, oh, okay, now it makes sense that he's coming back. And also, the situation was a good way to set up. Oh, look who's back! It's me and a shielder. Me and such a shielder. Oh, she's back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look at that. She's still around in the 21st century because she can't ever die. Yeah, about that. Now, of course, it would have been too easy for them to set her up as a straight villain in this episode. That the lock that the Raven focuses on was her fault. It turned out that no, she couldn't help it. It's just what happened. And then that the chronologue sets up Clara's death. In a weird way, it was a very Doctor-like decision that led to her death because she assumed that she could stop the chronologue from happening, but nope, the Raven found her in the end, and she bravely faced death in a way that a lot of the companions have died on the show did not face it that way. They tried to run away from it, but she didn't in the end, which I think was a very powerful subversion of that trope because we haven't seen a companion die in New Who in quite a while. River's technically dead, but knowing River's timeline, I don't think that really counts because we always see her like all over the place. So I don't think that technically counts.
True.
And Amy Rory died, but it was definitely like way after they stopped with traveling with the Doctor. So it's not like they died while they were with the Doctor.
Right, I think there was one, I believe, with the fifth Doctor who died on a Cyberman ship. And the ship blew up.
Oh, that was what's his face? That nobody likes. Oh gosh, Adric.
Yes, because I think he stayed behind to help make sure that Cybermen did not follow the Doctor and escape. So that was
because initially he was set up to kill the Doctor. But then I think he realized that the Cybermen were worse.
Right. He was.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's true. Then, and also I think Face the Raven was good, because I think we've all become so accustomed to having a companion leaving, like, on the finale.
Mm-hmm.
So to have it happen randomly, I thought that was like, oh, this was unexpected.
Oh, technically, I mean, if you look at Hellbent, you see that her exit was not completely an exit. I mean,
that's true.
It would be, I think the more obvious way would have been to have, the more obvious writing technique would have reversed the order of these episodes to start with Hellbent, then go to Face the Raven, and go to Heaven Sent. But obviously, since this is Doctor Who, you telling the story partially backwards, is the more effective way to go in terms of emotional impact.
That's true. Because I remember watching Face the Raven and doing a lot of tweeting, and like everybody was like having that initial shock of like, "Are you doing this now? Are you doing this now?" Or like, "Oh, we're all upset." And even on the Doctor Who Twitter page, they had some tweets, something like a tweet like, thank you, Jenna Coleman, for all your work. And now that the season's over, I'm like, yep, they did a good job, a good thing by doing that, because they made us think she really is gone now, and we won't see her again.
Yeah, I think it was interesting the way that, in a way, Clara's beginning was that she came into the world on a leaf, and then she, in a way, flew out of the world, which I think a lot of people forgot that too. And I was like, oh wow, that's a really interesting visual image.
That's right, she did. So that's a nice symbolism metaphor. I forgot the correct term, but because then we had Heaven Sent, and then I think a lot of people were confused by it, but I think this is one of those episodes of like mini shows where like you really had to watch it to get it.
This is definitely one you had to pay attention to like really, really carefully. I think it's very rare for us to get. This is another episode I put in the give Capaldi and Emmy consideration, because he spends the entire episode essentially talking to himself. It's very rare to see a Doctor without a companion, not only lost, but in his own thoughts. And he has to work out the problem without any shortcuts, without any tools to help him besides his mind. And it sucks that he spent 2 billion years trying to dig himself out the wall, but it showed a lot of his mind. It showed a lot of his mindset, and it teased some of the bigger mysteries of Doctor Who, like what's his name and why did he run away from Gallifrey in the first place. It set up a lot of Hellbent very well, and it also tied the events of Face the Raven very well too, because a lot of times you don't see the Doctor grieving for a lost companion. He just moves on to the next thing. But to see he spent 2 billion years grieving over Clara is a very interesting thing.
Yes, it is. Did you see it again Saturday night before the finale?
No, I got home literally right before Hellbent started, so I did not get to watch it again like right before.
Okay, because I thought it was interesting. Like they started like at 7:45, and they had some extra scenes in the beginning, which like I think, if I remember the night it originally aired, it just starts with him coming into like beaming into the room. If I'm not mistaken.
That's weird. That's actually an interesting thing that they had special things. I don't know if it's this season what I have not done was gone and watched the UK cuts, because I do know they edit on BBC America for time, so I'm not sure if it was a time edit or a, hey, look, we found this extra stuff that was cut before it even filmed. That I don't know, because I've spent most of the season I've watched on BBC America and not online. So
same here. Yeah.
So I'm not sure if it was just, they found like they released on never before seen footage, or was it, we edited the edits for time back in?
Because the way it began was like you saw the hand, like a bloody hand pull the lever, and then I think he was talking too, but then the bloody hand pulls the lever, and then the doctor appears in the portal, and the hand disappears. And I forgot the conversation that he was having with himself, but I think it made the episode a little bit more clearer in a sense. But I did appreciate, this us on the journey for that ride, and then I think we had the collective shock of like, oh, I see what this is now. This is all him, and this is his confession dial, and we're on him, his journey of like confessing to different things. And then we have the last one, Heaven Sent. No, I'm wrong. Hellbent. Sorry.
Hellbent.
Yes. This was our return to Gallifrey. That I know that they advertised it before. So I think my thought at the end was Gallifrey is still technically locked away, I think. Or
I think we're definitely going to see more of Gallifrey at some point, because it was the way it was told. Because so much of his interaction was only with Rassilon and the Time Lord military, I believe we're definitely going to see them again, because as it was, Gallifrey was still kind of in a pocket loop somehow, or he drops into Gallifrey at an earlier point in the timeline. While he does start in the house that the moment was hosted in, it clearly looks like, in a weird way, it looks like it was before that even happened, because there's still villagers around, like random people around it. Like I remember from the 50th, it looked more like a wasteland.
It did.
Yeah, so it's clearly an earlier point in Gallifrey's timeline. I don't think it was before. Clearly past classic, but not before the Time War in a weird way, despite Rassilon appearing different.
Right.
It's its own like pocket loop kind of universe.
It's because I know that they said that, what was it? Like in the beginning, the soldiers were like, this is the man that saved us from the Time War. So like they recognize what happened, I guess, in the 50th, if you want to say that. Mm-hmm. And because I'm even thinking back to David Tennant's final episodes, like before Gallifrey came to Earth, there's like this little line of the Doctor stole the moment, and we didn't know what the moment was until like a few years later.
Yeah.
So you could say Gallifrey itself is like really existing in like one moment, but we just kind of go back to it here and there.
So. Yeah, I think he's definitely gonna be. I think Gallifrey's definitely gonna come back again, and Rassilon, interestingly, now is a villain. So I'm sure there's gonna be another like run-in with Gallifrey in an earlier timeline of him again with Rassilon again. Mm-hmm. I mean, depending if Rassilon regenerates again, so it's gonna be either classic Rassilon or new Rassilon. Something's gonna happen. So I think that part of Hellbent is somewhat convoluted, and especially if you weren't paying attention, it was very easy for you to get lost in that. Yes. But again, if you notice so much, I love that so much of the episode resulted in the Doctor realizing that he did go too far in terms of how he grieved for Clara, and that the hybrid is not a Dalek, it's not a time, it's a Doctor and Clara together because of her ability to affect his emotions, and that was a very interesting premise and a very interesting end to the season.
That's true.
Also, now all the conspiracy theories about that second TARDIS floating around in space.
Yes, like I was thinking before we started talking that now was that diner Amy and Rory went to, was that actually the TARDIS? The second TARDIS?
Good question, because it's the same diner, but we don't know if it was the TARDIS at that point or not.
Yeah. So, like, did Clara and me go back to Earth for a second? Like, it's too many, like, theories now because of that.
And now people are like, oh, they should pick up the Doctor's daughter. And I'm like, except she's running around. And then there's also, if you go even further back, one of the specials shows, there was another, from one of the David Tennant specials, there's another companion running around space with like a bus. I'm like, yeah, there's a whole lot of...
Oh, yeah, her. Yes, she had the flying bus.
She had the flying bus. I'm like, okay, now look at all these, like, missing threads now that could probably be connected together. Possibly.
I'll be honest, when they showed Macy Williams in the trailer for the season, I actually thought she was going to be the Doctor's daughter because she looked like her for a second. And it's like, are we bringing that back up now? But no, we're not. Okay.
I always expected, when I saw her being in the trailer, I said, okay, she's part of whatever the season arc is, but I knew better than to expect anything other than a completely original character that could be a antagonist or Doctor this season. That's kind of what I read from her. I'm like, I doubt they're going to make, like, because there's so many different theories about what she was going to be. Like, oh, she's Jenny, except Jenny had blonde hair. Oh, she's like this, she's the Ronnie. I was like, guys, they're not going to, if they were going to reveal any of those classic people coming back, like, they were not going to put it in a trailer. Like, she's clearly something original. Like, it's definitely not, I knew not to explain anything. I knew not to fall into that conspiracy theory trap.
No, it was just the image, and I think like as the internet does, we all run with it, and it's like, okay, so what do we all think? But because like I'll be honest, like when the episode started, I was thinking, okay, so Clara does not have her memories. I think they want us all to think that, oh, it's what we're going to expect. He's going to come check on her one last time and then leave.
Yeah.
And then to give us the plot twist of like, no, she's checking on him, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, no, it's the other way around, because the doctor doesn't have his memories. Because it was, because when we first see her and him at a diner, it's like, okay, wait a second. Clara is back, but not really back. She's not quite her old self. So it confused, it threw the plot for a loop a bit, but then you see what happens.
Right, because I thought it was just going to start with him like walking on Gallifrey, from how the last episode ended, and it's like, oh, we're in a diner. This is weird, and like, well, isn't she dead? But I think this was a good wrap up for the season as a whole. Now, the only part, I think, one of the many parts we didn't get answered is, what was Misty going to do with the Daleks from the beginning?
I have a feeling they did not answer that question, because they're probably going to use that in Series 10.
That's true.
Because remember, this is the 10th anniversary season of Doctor Who, so they're going to have to pull in. Daleks are going to definitely be involved somehow in the 10th season.
That's right. Why?
It's 10th season. They're gonna have to pull out all the stops, essentially, they're gonna be definitely callbacks to all the big moments of the past 10 years. So the Master, Missy. Now with Missy, that's gonna be in there. Daleks for sure. I'm sure Simon will show up again. I'm sure if they really want to go the route of the series 4 finale, bringing back past people, like that's a good way to bring it to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right now, as is the Christmas special, River's coming back, which people thought was not going to happen. So now River's coming back in the Christmas special. So it's kind of the 10th. I totally could see the 10th season being a setup for a lot of echoes of earlier new seasons combined.
That's true, because even during this season, the Doctor mentions Jack Harkness, and
yeah,
and I kind of wonder what's going to happen with Torchwood after that season, a Miracle Day on Stars. Like that show is just left open now. So,
I have a feeling that whatever happens on Stars, they're probably going to have to do some sort of right over of that, depending on. Because remember, a lot of that season wasn't written by the normal Doctor Who people. A lot of it was written by outside BBC people.
That's true.
So there may be some sort of, and because the ending of it was very unlike Doctor Who, it was so much it felt like this is not Doctor Who, this is not original Torchwood because of the other influences in there.
Right, and they only got I think maybe 2 mentions of the Doctor of like. Jack mentions a traveling friend as the Doctor, and that was it.
Yeah, it's definitely not. I don't think they can work that into the plot as it is. They have to probably do some sort of explaining thing. Oh, I think we got through most of our conversation though.
Right, we did. And so I just want to say, just wrapping up, thank you for coming on the show today.
You're welcome.
And I guess this is like one last question. Are there things like you're looking forward to for the Christmas episode and next series?
I don't want to commit to predicting anything next series yet because this is the 10th season and we don't. I'm sure they're planning a lot of interesting stuff for next season. But in terms of the Christmas special, part of me is like, oh my gosh, River and 12 together, they're gonna be such a great couple. But then I am excited about that, but I feel like what may end up happening is because either 12 is not going to recognize River or she's not going to recognize 12. Because remember, they always meet in the wrong order. So I feel like the shipper expectations probably need to be taken down a notch or two, realistically. The monster looks suspiciously, and mind you, I don't even watch Marvel, it looks like the Hulkbuster.
That's funny.
So I don't know what the villain is supposed to be. I'm not sure where they're going with that, so that's gonna be interesting. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure where they're going with that. So I'm just excited to see what's going on with that.
Gotcha. Is there a way for people to contact you online if they want to discuss more Doctor Who and other BBC shows and other shows in general with you?
Sure. The best way to reach me is via Twitter. I'm not always on there, like in terms of like posting every single second, but in terms of like my inbox and stuff is always open for that. On Twitter, I am, let me make sure I spell my name on Twitter correctly because it's a little bit different than the name I go by usually. Come on Twitter. Okay, because I changed it recently, so I don't even remember, like sometimes I forget who I am. On Twitter, I am at Amanda-Rae Prescott.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty in terms of what I do in real life. I'm in journalism grad school, so I'm pretty busy and tied up sometimes. So, but if I see an ad mentioned on Twitter, I'll usually check it. Gotcha. So yeah, that's kind of the best way to reach me.
Okay. Well, thank you, and hope everybody enjoyed this episode, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right. See you. All right. Thank you for having me on.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.